Welcome to the Knack for Business podcast. Get more details and opportunities from our website, knackforbusiness.com.
How do you become the kind of trusted advisor clients rely on for life, not just for one transaction? And that's exactly what Dennis will talk about, how he built a reputation for lifelong service by leading with trust, mastering communication, and putting clients first. Our guest today is Dennis Tarrant from Team One Homes. Dennis is the driving force behind Team One Homes, a true entrepreneur at heart, rooted in his Newfoundland warmth and lifelong passion for leadership and service. For Dennis, real estate isn't just a side hustle, it's all the time. He leads a skilled team that lives out their service mission by putting people first, building relationships beyond the sale, whether with buyers, sellers, or investors. Dennis brings energy, mentorship, and integrity to every step of the journey, growing a referral-based business built on trust, not transactions. Dennis, absolute pleasure having you here. It's been a while since we had a good chat. Give our favorite quote or saying, sir.
Thank you for the lovely intro, Brennan. We've known one another for quite some time, and it was kind of fortuitous bumping into you at the grocery store several weeks back, maybe a month ago. I do have a favorite saying: if it is to be, it's up to me. And that really just comes down to, it is up to you, right? I don't play the blame game. We live in a blame world. Being self-employed, the buck stops at you. You basically live or die, and you fall on your own storm. Like that years ago, I saw a license plate that had 3 SWs, so like some will, so what? And that's not something I made up, but I added the stop whining, start working, someone's waiting. And then the last one is next. My business partner, because Team One Homes is not exclusively me. It's a business partnership built on trust. And I know that was part of the little intro there, but trust is the secret sauce. It really, truly is. It's what allowed us to build such a great business over the course of the last 20 years. When Frank and I have frustrating times in the real estate space, listen, it's not all smooth sailing. There's a lot of grind behind it. Sometimes that's exactly what we say to one another when we get caught with this complexity situation. It's just next. Some will, some won't. So what? Move on. The time or the bandwidth it takes to focus on negatives, that's part of the negative. It sucks the life force out of you, and that's the energy that needs to be put into the next client relationship. I like that one. Was intended, but it confused people. I had a license plate, too many characters per Ontario, personalized license plate. And I'm not the bumper sticker kind of guy, but it's true. I don't live in a world of scarcity at all. When I say scarcity, I mean scarcity mindset and resources. There's tons of opportunity in every which way, shape, or form out there. And it's just a matter of go out there and get it. And that's what we've done. It's been a real joy. The whole idea of serving you for life. My dad, God rest his soul, has been gone for 3 years. He made it 10 days shy of his 90th birthday. I remember him giving me a call when I first started. I started in real estate in 2005. My dad's been self-employed his entire life. He said, remember, you're building a book of relationships here. His last business was an insurance brokerage. Similar type of thing. They're not the same, but there's a lot of similarities. He goes, you're building a book of relationships that will pay you today and will pay you forever if you keep sprinkling good things on those relationships. And I said, Dad, I learned from the best. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what we've done. And you find creative ways to bring value to the client realtor relationship. We're not perfect, but we do get often, in a firm that we're with, which is Royal LePage Team Realty, the biggest brokerage in Ottawa, run by great people. When we joined, their motto was, helping you is what we do. When I was with a previous firm back in the day, when you actually had to use a telephone and call another real estate office, a person would pick up the phone and say, thank you for calling, Rob. Could you hold, please? And they put you on hold. Those days are all gone. Now they're all technology platforms where not as many people are talking to people, which is kind of the downside to the space. But back in the day, Team Realty was helping you is what we do. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Helping you is what we do. But they really, truly do live out that motto. And now we're part of it for 10 years, actually next week, we're Royal LePage Team Realty. And it's been a very, very good decision for us. And the Team One Homes is just like a mini sub-branding that Frank and I one day says, Frank, one of these days, if we ever decide to go out on our own, it's not as easy as everyone thinks, is we decided to create little sub-brands that if we ever did decide to depart and, part ways with the major broker sponsoring us, that we would have our own brand. It's interesting because today, 20 years in, when we poll our client audience, 9 times out of 10, they'll say Team One Homes. So that little mini branding exercise has actually kind of worked. We did something that was kind of unique. We just didn't know how unique it was when we did it.
Two quick questions. First off, I love that orange cup you're drinking from. I know there's a story behind that.
Yeah.
What made you pick real estate? The second question is you're doing that, the Team One Home is a good way to do a brand within a brand. So I want to hear those two stories. What made you pick that driveway and make that driveway so unique? So.
Yeah, it's a great question. We were just talking about it the other day. In fact, someone was talking about artwork and logos. And of course, now we just live in a world where, ChatGPT, or you ask it for anything and it creates stuff. It's mind blowing what you can do today inside of the creative art field. Back then, I was curious and constantly asking questions. When I started in real estate, I was a fly on the wall, taking notes. Even before I got licensed, I'll tell you what led me into real estate space. In some ways, because of the way I'm wired, I wish I had gotten involved earlier. I don't live with regret. We keep moving forward because the windshield in front is much bigger than the rearview mirror. So I just keep focusing on go forward. But we were talking to some people and they said, we're looking at trying to get a logo done or create a website. This is back in the day when websites were not even kind of anything, right? Even the internet was, no one even had an iPhone in 2005. I think my first thing was a Palm Pilot with a pencil in it. I kind of wish I'd have kept all those technology devices because it would be quite a story to have those things shadow boxed in my home office. We went onto a website called Logo Tournament. You paid $250 to basically pay the winner of whoever made the best design based on your ideas. Frank and I kind of brainstormed, okay, what team, and then, one first, who's first, not necessarily first, but we'd like to give number one service, top tier service. So Team One, and what business are we in? So that we just start spitballing a little bit and came up with 3 things. And we didn't come up with the one inside of the O and E. We threw those ideas up and this tournament begins. It's a 2-week tournament. After 10 or 11 days, I'm saying to Frank, I think we've been robbed of our 250. I think they take our money and run. Graphic designers all around the world pay a participation fee to be part of that tournament. 2 or 3 days before the deadline for the logo preparation, I started getting incoming emails with ideas, and you could change it in real time, saying too blue, too strong. The number one is too big. This is that's the wrong blue. That's the wrong gray. We started making changes on the fly. At the end, there's a winner, second place, and a third place. The winner gets $200, second place, $25. We ended up with this logo of Team One Homes and started basically using it on everything we did. We use it on our business cards. Of course, there's our business card, Team One Homes. Yep. And on the back of it with the Team One Homes, the logo will grow on the page. And of course, Team One Homes originally is just 2 people. And now we've grown it into a little bit more than that because we can't be in all places at once. As much as entrepreneurs want to do everything and be everything, we can't be all things to all people. It's been a great decision.
When you did that logo, you're putting your mark in place, essence in there. How do you know it's going to resonate with your client, the client that doesn't know you yet? Just this is me out of curiosity.
Yeah, no.
By the way, your logo looks fine. There's absolutely no. But how do you go? I've come up with something special, and all of a sudden, I don't see you and Frank walking out with pink mohawks anytime soon.
Yeah, it's pretty subdued. The logo itself, clean and crisp. And I can tell you over the years, we don't go asking for what do you think? Because quite frankly, we made the decision. We rest with our decision. We're happy with our final decision. I don't care what people think. It is what it is. I think it looks good. If someone says it doesn't, they're entitled to their opinion. I'm good with that. I don't get caught up in too many people's opinions. I'm not going to change course direction. I'm not going to change my life because of someone's opinion. Used to them, get great feedback. I've never heard anyone say, that's the weirdest looking thing. It's subliminal. Not everyone catches things inside the logo. It's rare to do. It's worked for us. And like I say, not that we have any intentions of moving on to create our own brokerage, because now the state of real estate has changed in terms of being able to, we're the last bastion in Canada where real estate agents and or brokers can form their own personal real estate corporation. They've been doing it for years on the West Coast, all over Canada. In October of 2021, we are now able to incorporate and become our own small business. Frank has his own personal real estate corporation. I have my own personal real estate corporation, and we have a written partnership agreement for Team One Homes. It's pretty simple. We don't get caught up in the weeds. Frank and I just have that year 3. I was getting maxed out in real estate in terms of I simply physically couldn't be in all places at once. And Frank is one of my closest friends. I went to him and I said, buddy, I'd love to spend more time with you. I just don't have it. There aren't enough hours in the day. But I said, I do have an idea. I thought it was the greatest idea. Come on board, core partnership, serve people, help with the most expensive asset in their lives, and we'll have some fun doing it. Because if you can't have fun in anything that you're doing, then you're doing something wrong. So I said to Frank, where you're working, you're undervalued, underpaid, underappreciated. Here's my idea. He didn't decide right away, which was confusing to me. I live in a world where I make decisions very spontaneously. So Frank's more of a thinker, which again is part of our partnership. I'm glad that he's more of a thinker because I'm the spontaneous one. He's the one who will sit back and reflect. We're the yin and the yang, and that's made it work so well. So about 6 months later, he makes the decision to jump in, and we haven't looked back. It's been a great relationship. And a lot of people comment and they go, well, I don't understand. What's the secret sauce? We do it based on trust. I trust him with my life. I would take a bullet for him. He would take a bullet for me. We have an expanded network of professionals we use and refer clients. We feel the same way about them. So when we endorse them and refer them to our clients take that as like, that's the handshake from Moses. It may as well be Moses' handshake. And therefore it's a transference of trust. When I first came to Ottawa after selling my small ice cream business, I knew that I didn't want to open up the ice cream business in Ottawa. It just did not seem like the thing to do. After having 3 parlors and 55 or 60 kids scooping ice cream, it was fun while we did it, but it wasn't fun in the end. So I thought, I'm not going to repeat that. I was representing a company called Prepaid Legal in insurance for legal services, the same way it is for other products. I still use their service today. It's a phenomenal legal plan service, but it didn't catch on in Ottawa largely because of the bilingual issue. We had some difficulties there. I bumped into somebody fortuitously. She said, well, your personality, I thought about giving it a shot in real estate. I said, you're not the first person to ask me that. She said, I'm going to be the first person to invite you for a coffee so I could explain a little bit more about it. I agreed to meet her for coffee, and it didn't take long for me to go, that's where I need to be. I'm still in control of my life. Yes, I'm working for a firm, but they don't own me. I'm a self-employed independent contractor. If I don't work hard and make money, it's up to me. There it is. And I just stack and layer, rinse and repeat, and do the right things. And I live in a world that says, if you help enough people get what they want and need, you will eventually get everything you need. And we got to be careful. At the end of the day, we don't need much. Client satisfaction, sometimes, like I'll come home after having a client meeting and they'll just be like, I've got this massive big ass grin on my face. That's how good it feels to do, right by people, and even it's just little pop-bys and little tokens of appreciation to say, hey, how are you? It's been a wonderful career choice. I hope I have many years left. It's the kind of business that allows you to slow down a bit. I think I can do this well into my 70s and 80s. I mean, as long as I can keep this brain active and so on and so forth, I should be good.
One thing I noticed in my industry, everyone's talking niche with life coaching. In the last 40 years, have you found a niche that you'd like to specialize on just so you can put as many hours in your day?
Yeah.
It can't be all things to all people.
Yes, that's a great question, mate. One of the things about real estate is when I got licensed, now, of course, the governing bodies have changed and the license requirements have changed. Back when I got licensed, you had to be certified, number one, and you pass with a mastery level of, and I use those in air quotes. Anytime I'm using this, I'm throwing a little bit of humor in there, if you want to call it, because I'm thinking mastery level. I mean, there's not too many masters in anything. Anyway, so long story short, we had to be trained in 2 areas, commercial and residential. Well, that's chalk and cheese, night and day. The difference between those 2 products couldn't be any more different. As a self-employed business owner who had many businesses and had been in the commercial space, my experiences they were fun, but still deal with landlords and dealing with complete jerks. You don't have to filter that. No, I could use other language. I had not had the greatest experience. And my dad would always say, if you're going to open a business, own the building. If you're going to do that, and then rent out other space in the building so that, you're basically getting them to pay for yours. So that happens in residential real estate too. Investment properties, put tenants in them, have them pay down your mortgage and provide housing for people who may not be in the process of, or the ability to buy, but they have to live somewhere. So I guess I serve one master choosing residential real estate versus commercial. Anytime I get a commercial inquiry, and not a lot of you attract what you become. In the real estate space, we're in residential real estate. We're 95% repeat and referral business. If we do right by people, they refer us. Every once in a while, we get a referral to a commercial transaction. And I have absolutely zero interest in trying to help that individual in the commercial space. Why? Because it's outside my lane. I refer to a great commercial realtor in our firm. Many times, I don't even care. I don't even want a referral fee for it. I just want that client looked after. If you deliver the same value proposition we do, I'm good with that. And then my clients say, and usually the client comes back with a response of, awesome, thank you for referring to Bill. He responded to my email right away. You set up a meeting for tomorrow and you're on. Because real estate is one of those fleeting things. It needs to be dealt with in the moment. If we don't respond to something really, really quickly, someone else is responding to it really, really quickly. And my fear is that someone else that's responding is not going to deliver at the level that we want to deliver. And therefore, the client is going to be dissatisfied. I don't want that reflecting on me. Not sure, Wayne, if that answers your question. But, niche marketing, and of course, you take residential real estate, and then you can filter the notes you send me where, from a senior's resignation, to helping seniors, and then there's first-time home buyers, and there's investors. There's a there's a smorgasbord of offerings inside of the residential real estate space. And you cannot be all things to all people. And too many realtors try to do that. They lose sight of that focus on the one thing. I don't focus on just seniors, but if I am working with seniors, and I'm working with one right now, names don't have to be part of this equation, but, been a bit of a difficult road because now all of a sudden there's a division of assets and he's going one way and the other person's going another way, a little overwhelmed. If I'm dealing with someone older, I'm in my early 60s. I treat them like my aunt, uncle, mother, or father. That's how I treat people. That's how I treat seniors. I will give them that same kind of care and attention. It usually comes down to listening because the biggest concern that a senior has is that it's worry. And they worry about things that they don't necessarily need to worry about. But who am I to say, don't worry? If they feel worried, my job is to identify what they're worried about and relate them to my experience. I know exactly how you feel. Many clients felt the same way. Here's what they did to reduce stress and anxiety. Now, when they're now at the destination where they were fearful and worrisome about, they're looking back and kind of going, "Oh my God, and I don't know why I was so fearful and worried." Thank you, Dennis, Fred, etc., for helping me overcome those barriers to the next move. We don't know what's going to happen in our world, but all we can do is relay our experiences in a personal, human way. When you're dealing with seniors, you're not often dealing with technology. You're dealing with a telephone or the old knock, knock. Let's sit down, have a coffee, and what's off, and let's talk this through over the kitchen table. A lot of real estate still being done that way. As much as the young upwardly mobiles, the yummies coming into the real estate space today, think everything's done through tech. It's not.
I haven't heard the term yummies before. That's interesting.
Young, upwardly mobile. They used to be yuppies, but now it's young, upwardly mobile. Yeah, there's a new one for you, Bertie.
Absolutely. Speaking of tech, and one thing, if you apply tech and seeing how you like that personal relationship to stay true, right? Because it's like you get a sensation, but tech has its place. I find tech for communications, or approvals, or marketing more beneficial than when you first started out, like a phone tree system.
Yeah, it's interesting because I talked about those devices from flip phones to Palm Islands to Blackberries, those little keys for so time. I don't know how we did it, but we managed to move through all the technological advances. There were plenty of things in technology that have allowed us to do more business or deliver more personal service to clients. We were laughing the other day because Frank and I met with new first-time home buyer clients who referred to us. We met them downtown. Both of us met with them. Sometimes we don't have the time to both drive downtown to meet clients, but we managed to meet with this young first-time home buyer couple. They were so green behind the ears. There were roots growing. It was absolutely classic. But we can all relate to our first-time buying. I chewed off all my fingernails. I was gainfully employed. My wife was gainfully employed, and we paid a fifth of what new home buys are today. We were nervous. If I sat down 35 years ago with a realtor, I'd have been dead. We can all relate to how people feel. Now I can give them 35 years of experience, half of that or more than half of that in the real estate space as to how we're going to deliver and how we're going to walk you through the process. You're not going to be overwhelmed. We want the home buying process to be exceptional. I don't want them to be nervous when they're buying a house. I want them to be excited. At the end, we want them to tell two people, and then we'll help their friends. We're helping buyers today that are the kids of parents we helped 20 years ago. 20 years creates a new generation. And it brings massive amounts of joy to me to be helping their adult kids now buying their first homes or their second homes and stuff like that. So that's where I get the most joy. If they didn't, I wouldn't be in this business if it weren't rewarding. We're not transactional realtors. If you help enough people get what they want and need, then I don't look at the numbers. I don't look at the money. And I never chase the money. It's just basically the client and satisfying their needs, and then move on. So from a technology standpoint, I'll share one story. So now we have a digital. I could send a document to you while we're doing this podcast for you to sign. If you were signing an NDA or you're signing a counter-signing an offer, I could send that to you literally while we're doing this, and then you send it back to me, and I get alerted. I can forward it off to a third party. That today is replacing what we used to do, which was driving across the damn city, meeting in the back alley or the back parking lot of a gas station, signing paperwork on the back. Wayne's kind of laughing. It's standing on. I've done that before, and then all of a sudden you're getting the initial sign. You're having a quick little conversation with the other realtor. I would call it the opposition. And then you're kind of going, it's 5 to 9. I wonder if the Staples is open. Then you're rushing to Staples to get your offer faxed. Or you're kind of going, I wonder if the Royal LePage Teen Realty office is open so I could use the fax machine. We still have fax machines in our office. I find it fascinating. We don't use them, but they're there. And that's one little technology thing. When it first came out, even myself, I'm an early adopter to technology. I love technology. I can't always say I'm technologically savvy, but I'm curious as to how new tech works. I'll try anything. I'll try it once, twice, 3 times. I'll even fail at it, and I'll still keep going. Technology is one of those necessary evils. But when I think of when I first saw the DocuSign product, and now there's a half a dozen other kind of, I would say competitors out there, it was daunting. I was thinking, oh my God, that our clients are going to freak out, and I can't do that. Now seniors are signing on iPads with their fingernails or Apple Pencil. I just did it the other day. He goes, I've got one of those think books or whatever. This is an old computer. Trust me, it'll work. He opens it up and I'm going, and he was basically signing with his finger. And it was just, and here's a person, a senior, signing documents on his computer. You're going to bring over all the paperwork. I said, yeah, it's an iPad. Everything is signed digitally. This is a magic pencil. And it's so magic, it actually disappears. And getting back to the coffee story, Bernie, we moved back into the city from the country and we had purchased this Nespresso. That's the brand. We purchased this Nespresso machine that had the steam wand on the side because my wife likes her green tea matcha lattes, and I was able to make her green tea. But it was kind of spilling water all over the countertop, which we thought was kind of unusual. So, and I couldn't remember where I purchased the machine. So, Carolyn, my wife said, why don't we pop into the Nespresso store in Bayshore? And maybe they have a record of it. I said, I think I got it there. But when life is busy, forget where you purchased things. So that Nespresso bunches in my phone number profile. He says, well, Mr. Tarrant, it says right here, there's the machine. You bought it in June 2023. I said, yeah, that's about right. He goes, do you know it's fully covered under warranty? Like everything. Everything? Like bumper to bumper? He goes, yeah, if it's not working properly, we'll arrange to pick it up at the house. We will ship it back to Nespresso. We'll repair it. If we can't, we will replace the machine with a new version. I'm thinking, yeah. Sure enough, Tuesday morning, ding dong, at the door. Courier's there, wants to pick up the machine, wrapped it all up, out it goes. They're now going to give you a loaner machine while you're waiting for the other machine. So I called Nespresso back and I said, just curious, because I really needed a coffee that day. My wife was bringing in McDonald's coffee. She said, I'm going to get you a coffee. And I thought, kind of bash him, okay, well, go out and get me a coffee. The guy at Nespresso said, don't worry about the loaner, Mr. Tarrant. We'll have your new machine back faster than we can deliver the loaner. Sure enough, within a week, the machine came back, detailed list of all they did. They replaced about 75% of the machine with new parts. I thought, that's a good customer service experience. I went out on social, and that's where I think social's good, because we talked a little bit outside of the podcast. I'm not a super big hero fan on social media, because I think it's I think it's not been named properly. I don't think it's social hardly at all. But anyway, I went out on social and I said, I've got a success story. I've got a story here that I think everyone, and people responded very favorably. Kudos to Nespresso for doing that. Yes, it wasn't an inexpensive machine, but I spent more than that on other things. You got, well, sucks to be you. I guess you got to buy a new one. I came home with a big grin. My wife goes, that was a pleasant experience. I said, yes, it was. That was a very pleasant coffee experience. So anyway, the new machine is pumping out, my coffees of choice. And I love it.
Here's a nice slow ball for you to knock out the park.
Okay.
On a sign, there is a name of a rep.
Right.
It is my belief that you should be calling your realtor, not the guy in the sign. In your mind, what is your realtor, and what does he bring to the table that the guy in the sign doesn't on the same property?
Okay. So I think if I understand your question properly, Wayne, it's this. You're talking about Mr. Consumer. He's just driving by a property, sees a home. It's got Dennis Tarrant's name on it. Is he going to call his realtor? If that person is looking at the real estate sign and sees for sale and Dennis's or Frank's name on it, if that person doesn't have a well relationship with another realtor, then likely he is going to pick up the phone and maybe call me or call Frank. When that happens, the first question we always ask, and again, it's likely we're going to ask for their name first, because I always like to know who I'm dealing with. So if the person calls and says, yes, I'm calling about 123 Main Street, what can you tell me? I said, well, before we get to 123 Main Street, my name is Dennis, and I'm with Royal LePage Team Realty Team One Homes. Just in case our call gets dropped, and that's quite possible in the Ottawa area, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? And he will say, well, my name is John. And I'll say, well, nice to meet you, John, over the phone. And if the phone number I have on my screen is this, is that the correct phone number to reach you if I should get cut off? And then I kind of say, John, do you have 5 minutes? Because there's a couple of questions I need to ask you before we can get the process of what I think you're calling about is, how much is the house? How many bedrooms? I need to establish at the first practical opportunity legally whether or not he's in a relationship, and that's contractual, with another realtor. If he is, then he hasn't been trained by the other realtor properly, because he wouldn't be calling me. He would have his realtor call and say, you want to book a showing? Or Dennis, it's Bill. I represent John. He's my client. He's looking for something. It appears as though he seems to like that property that you just listed on Main Street. What can you tell me about it? And then the realtors start dialoguing and acting like professionals. That's how it should go. Now, if John is not represented, he does not have a designated real estate agreement in place, then I would say to John, are you in the area now? Are you driving by the house? Was that yesterday you took notes? And then I would say, how quickly can we set up perhaps a Zoom call so I can perhaps take a deeper dive, try to establish what your true real estate needs are, a timeline for it, et cetera, and then we just move through the process that way. I'm never going to get information just willy-nilly on the phone. In fact, I often don't take those calls unless they come in, because if they come in as, well, we all know now, says, even on the new updates with iOS, potential spam or it's potential fraud or whatever the case may be. I want to help people, but I want to do it right. I want them to learn about the process too. I want it to be enjoyable. Now, I do get the odd person that will call, I just want the damn price. Can you just give me the damn price? In which case I'm kind of going, this doesn't sound like it's really going to be a good fit. So wish you a pleasant day. Click and I'm done. I'm not going to get involved in a conversation with a person who thinks they can just interrupt anyone's life, butt in line, and expect to be treated with the mutual respect. No, not happening. Next. That's where the next comes in again. Next.
Is there anything you would do different in your journey over the last couple of decades? When you're your startup point, you make mistakes. We all do. Is there anything?
They're just not tragic ones.
But is there anything you would have done different? You seem to have a story, empathy, authentic component to it.
Right.
And you're working with people.
Right.
If you can't resolve the problem, this person can. Is there anything else that you would say, I wish I knew this when?
Really good questions, Bernie. You hit on a couple of trigger points: authenticity, empathy, listening. These are all really, really strong traits for any professional. I don't care if you're selling cars or you're selling, caskets. It's about communicating, asking great questions. And that's a great question. So see if I can answer this, and I'll try to kind of condense it a little bit more. We all learn, in the stacking and layering. Learning is a forever growing thing, right? If you're not growing, you're basically going backwards. I'm a curious person by nature. I'm constantly reading on other podcasts. I'm constantly looking at ways where we can tweak it. And Frank and I just met the other night after this with this young couple. Of course, rather than the young couple, Frank and I just sat down and thought we'd had a quick little conversation. And I said, Frank, you remember when you bought your first phone? And I remember when I bought my first phone, and we start talking about because we don't get the opportunity sometimes to sit down because we're going in sometimes many different directions serving our database. We don't always get together. So the one thing, I guess, and again, getting back to that book, the one thing is, I guess the only thing I would have done differently is, with the knowledge I have now, what would I do differently? I would streamline things, learn to delegate more, because I'm my own worst enemy. I want to do everything myself. That's impossible. We all try to do everything. But if I have to take more time and energy explaining how to do it to somebody else, then I say, if I could do it myself in 20 minutes, I'll just do it myself. That's where it stacks and layers and you get overwhelmed. And I think a lot of people do get overwhelmed in the real estate space, because if there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of intangibles in the real estate space that most people never really get to understand. My wife, when she was a workaholic school principal for 30 years, I was a workaholic. We worked long hours. Carolyn would come home and then the same thing, rinse and repeat, and do that constantly. Now that she's retired, she was like, oh my God, I could never do what you do. I could never talk all day, negotiate like that. So now she sees it, hears and experiences it. She has a much greater understanding. She's empathetic and understands how sometimes I get triggered. At the end of the day, it's like too much information. Maybe tell me about your day. I've been telling everyone about my day. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. Learning how to delegate and learning how to basically get other people on board to do some of the things I don't want to do. I want to be involved in the intellectual property, the idea, maybe the rainmaker, but I don't want to do it from start to finish. So learning how to delegate, bring on people for their talent, time, capacity, and ideas, and then move on to the next client.
Yes, the weirdest property you've been on the side of. What's the one that stood out?
And I've been in some really unusable properties. The thing is, you always go to a property, even if they say the property is vacant, you can't take what you see on MLS as gospel, because realtors sometimes, it might be vacant, you list it, or it might be occupied when you list it, and then it's vacant when you show up, or vice versa. I always ring the doorbell. I always hammer knock on the door, or if there's a knocker, I always use it. My clients are going, well, don't we have an appointment? And going, I know we have an appointment, but the person behind the door may not have that knowledge because they haven't been communicated to properly. We assume that just because I did it and I made the appointment, got confirmation, that the pieces of the proverbial puzzle haven't been put together. And I remember showing up at one particular house, and it didn't seem like there was anybody there. So of course, no problem. We're walking through the house, leave my business card, take off your shoes, do the respectful thing. There have been a few times I didn't need to take off my shoes, if you know what I mean, because the house was a spray rack. I get home at the end of the day, my wife goes, show me the bottom of your socks. In the garbage they go, right? Because I walked over God knows what. I remember a place. Anyway, this particular house, we walked through the whole house, and the client goes, well, what's that door here? Just as we were leaving, I said, oh, I'm not sure what that door's for. Maybe that's a little den or a storage room or a walk-in closet. So I opened the door. On the other side of the room, not facing me, was an elderly woman in her rocking chair, not rocking, not moving. And at that moment, I did not know if she was even breathing. And I'm thinking, oh, crap. Have I just discovered my first time a person who has passed away? Because I'm thinking to myself, I rang the doorbell. I hammered on the door. And then when I walk in, I go, hello, anybody home? Right? Well, you don't get any answer. You're just assuming there's nobody home. So anyway, I quickly opened up the door. We looked in. There was no and I thought to myself, yeah. So I just closed the door, We departed and went, now we know it's in the room. And then we left. And I never did follow up on it. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, I don't need to go there. But nor did I ever get a call from the police services or anything. And there was another time I was halfway down the stairs and I don't have a whole lot of hair left on my head anyway, but I might have had a bit more then. And I got this really bad vibe. It's an intuition thing. If I'm halfway down the stairs and I feel this strange vibe, I turned around, back up the stairs, I said, put on your shoes. We're leaving. I'll explain in the car. As it is, I do some research on this particular property, and I'm not going to get into the details because it's not a good thing, if you know what I'm saying. But the research basically shared that some really, really not so good things happened in that hall, and clearly happened in the basement. So I thought to myself, wow. So again, talking about disclosure, this happened a long time ago. And I'm thinking to myself, we probably would not have gone to that home had that been disclosed. So that's another little tiny little branch of that tree called real estate and professionals doing their homework. Also professionals representing the sellers on that property, because that's a stigmatized property. And you don't want the new buyers finding out at the first neighborhood barbecue. That could be really awkward.
Only if they look at you like, yeah, Dennis, come on over here. I
Yeah.
hear a story.
Yeah.
What's this stain on the wall a little bit?
Me in the basement in a half hour. No thanks. So whole range of things like that. And of course, like anything else, it's real estate and you're having to communicate that to your clients. I've had clients going, I really like the house, but I know this is going to sound like a strange question. And I'm going, well, there are no strange questions, even though in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, here's a doozy. I want to make sure that the house feels right for my dog. So are we putting the dog as the third buyer on title? Will they be signing? Because we've got paperwork to sign. And all of a sudden, long pause. Get it? Pause. And I'm going, so
That's weak, Dennis. That was weak.
I'm at 1,000 of those, Wayne. But it is interesting because people want to know, will like teenagers be happy here? Will like dog be happy here? I remember growing up when we were moving from province to province, my dad just said, get in the car. We're leaving. Can we have a vote? No. Get in the car. There was no kind of, let's go look at the house and vote on it. Get in the car. Things a bit where I think there's a lot more involvement where families kind of go, okay, well, I want to make sure this is the right fit for the whole family. And so I try to keep my comments to myself, but I usually ask my clients, may I be completely open and candid with you, like unfiltered truth more than ever. People appreciate that candidness. They appreciate that, but yeah, to the point. And they go, no, we want it all. We want unfiltered, authentic you. That's why we're working with you. You can't be in 2 or 3 places at the same time. Sometimes I have to let clients know this week would be impossible if we're looking at houses. The referral of transferring the value proposition. You're going to get the same treatment. If I plucked me out and put Frank in, or took Frank out and put Tara in, you're going to get the same service. That's how we deliver. Not sure if that answers your question. Yeah.
Seeing your sign on the driveway, what's the best way to reach you?
My phone number hasn't changed in 20, 25 years. I'm on every platform. It's WhatsApp. I'm on WhatsApp. If it's a telephone, you want to text message me as long as it doesn't look like spam. My number is 613-875-9714. It's Dennis, 2 N's. And again, there's a story there where a realtor emailed me using 1 N in the word Dennis, and therefore I never got the offer. There were 13 offers, and she was calling. I didn't recognize the number. Long story short, her offer was thousands and thousands of dollars more than the other ones. And I said, well, I didn't get the offer because you sent it to a French dentist, and I'm not a French dentist. I'm an English dentist with double N. She resent the offer, and her offer ends up winning. So Dennis at team1homes.com. Team spelled out TEAM, 1 ONE, homes. So Dennis at team1homes.com. And I'm not hard to find onto the internet or onto the web. I don't even think you have to type in www anymore because you used to back in the day. Just team1homes.com, and you'll see who we are and you'll see what we do. We're not flashy. We're not trying to gain a massive presence online. 95% of our business is by repeat and referrals. I'm not trying to make our website sparkly. We have to be socially present. So we have some presence online. Remember I was telling you earlier, Bernie, Media is a double-edged sword. It's a necessary evil. Or to sum this up in the best way I know how, for the world to be so inundated with information coming at us at 1,000 miles an hour from 1,000 different directions, and yet we're starving for attention. We're getting completely bombarded with information that sometimes we just don't know how to sift and sort and disseminate, and yet we're starving for attention. So I say to people, we're here, we listen, we care, we deliver, and we would be honored to honestly work with you. Frank and I always say we put up our hand to apply for the job as your realtors. We never take it for granted. We don't assume anything. It's largely, we know that it's almost going to work out 9 times out of 10. When I sit at the kitchen table, it's because I just helped their colleague or their coworker or their family member, whether it's an exit, purchase, move up, move down, sideways move, relocation, military. We do a lot of that. It could be a family split. It could be a blended family. It could be, there's so many different things. It could be a senior. It's funny because now we're back in the same home we first started 25 years ago. We've gone through 5 homes, as many people will. We should have probably stayed in the original home and pocketed all our money. But anyway, it's a joy. As long as I love what I'm doing, I'll continue to do it and maybe tweak a few things. If it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. It's working.
I want to say thank you to Dennis Tarrant, co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners, for your time. Dennis still remembers helping his first client, being nervous and setting the tone. If you're looking for real estate in the area, Dennis is your point to find that home.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.